Let me say the sentence that made the entire internet laugh 6 months ago. Game Freak, the Pokémon studio, is making a dark, parry-heavy, post-apocalyptic action RPG. Because I've heard every version of the joke and every version of the doubt. And honestly, the doubt earned its seat. This is the studio whose last few Pokémon games ran like they were held together with tape and prayer. The clips of stiff walk cycles and wooden faces made the rounds. People called it AA, cosplaying as AAA, a studio wildly out of its depth, a Sekiro clone from the people who can't ship a stable Paldea. And the question hanging over all of it was brutal and fair. What business does the world's most famously conservative developer have making this game? And I need you to sit down for what I'm about to tell you. This might be the best thing Game Freak has ever made that doesn't have a Pikachu in it. And I'm going to tell you exactly why and exactly where the cracks still show. The world is the first thing that grabs you by the collar. This is Japan, 2,000 years from now, and civilization didn't just fall, it got devoured. A corruption called the Blight has swallowed the country, fusing plants and animals into feral monstrosities called malefacts, strangling skyscrapers and highways under centuries of vegetation. The machines humanity built to outlive itself, golems carrying actual human souls, have mostly gone berserk, wandering the ruins like tragic ghosts of our own arrogance. And through this gorgeous graveyard walk, two outcasts. Emma, an 18-year-old born infected by the Blight, granted the power to command plants and cursed to feel nothing, born without memory or emotion, shunned by the last scraps of humanity she's fighting to save. And Ku, a Blight-born wolf dog, technically one of the monsters she exists to destroy, who took one look at her and decided they belonged to each other. She's a sealer, hunting the giant apex malefacts called Nushi that rule each corrupted region, absorbing their power into herself, marching west toward the source of it all, the thing the game is named after. Between hunts, you return to your mobile base, a hulking walker that carries your upgrades, your allies, your lore flashbacks, and yes, a spot to wash the dog. And the vibes, man. The vibes are immaculate. This is Princess Mononoke run in reverse, a wolf-flanked warrior cutting nature back instead of defending it, wrapped in the exact melancholy that made Nier Automata a religion, right down to a soundtrack of haunted choir vocals that stopped me mid-fight more than once. There's Stellar Blade and Ghost of Yoti in Emma's blade and top-knot silhouette, and underneath it all, a retro-futurist sadness about technology outgrowing the people who built it. One flashback hit me hardest, a machine calmly telling Emma she has no heart, no humanity, and Emma, genuinely confused, asking what pity even is. A girl with no emotions and a dog full of them, teaching each other how to be alive at the end of the world. If that premise does nothing to you, check your own pulse. Now, the combat, because this is where the internet's been sharpening its knives. Yes, the skeleton is Sekiro. Katana in hand, every enemy has a health bar and a down gauge, and the dance is reading attack patterns, timing parries, breaking their posture, and detonating them with a ranged finisher that lets you lunge in from a distance. Perfect parries negate damage entirely, and the whole system runs without a stamina bar, so it's your attention being tested, not a meter. But here's the first mercy. The parry window is noticeably more generous than Sekiro's. This has the rhythm of a Souls-like without the sadism, and I mean that as a compliment. You still have to learn enemies. You will still die. But at base difficulty, this is firmly in the challenging, not cruel lane. There are difficulty options you can change at any time. You keep every drop of experience when you die, and the design philosophy is openly about experimenting with new approaches instead of ramming your skull into one boss 40 times. A Souls-like that isn't trying to hurt you, and then the game does the thing that makes it special. Press one button and time crawls to a stop. A command menu blooms open, and suddenly this fast, flashy action game becomes, for 2 seconds, almost turn-based. That's Ku's lair. Your dog fights on his own, but his real power is his command list. An expanding arsenal of abilities with elemental affinities that specific enemies are weak to, chosen from a slow-motion menu that feels ripped straight out of Final Fantasy VII Remake's playbook. Roots that erupt from the earth and bind an entire crowd. Fireballs that stack burn. A shield-shattering slam that cracks armored enemies open for an instant finisher. A cherry blossom javelin, a power Emma absorbs from a defeated boss that skewers a target from range and, gloriously, becomes a platform she can leap onto and dive attack from. Each command triggers a QuickTime prompt, nail it, and Emma heals a sliver of health. And the genius glue holding it together. Ku's abilities cost fluorescence points, and you earn those points by parrying. your defense literally feeds your dog's offense. Max the meter at 9 and Ku goes full bloom, hitting twice as hard with a huge chance to stagger, defend beautifully, and your best friend becomes a monster. I have never played a combat loop quite like it, and after 90 minutes it already felt like an attack rotation I wanted to master, weaving sword strings, Emma's own unlockable blade arts, bow and crossbow shots with different ammo, and Ku's tactical layer into one continuous gorgeous act of violence. The progression underneath is deep enough to matter. Campfires are your rest stops, level up 3 core stats: strength, vitality, and fluorescence, and those stats literally gate which skills you can unlock, so your build choices ripple. Emma and Ku each have their own skill tree, but pull from a shared pool of points, which is quite genius. Every point is a choice between sharpening the swordswoman or empowering the dog, and the game openly supports leaning Ku heavy if pure action isn't your thing. Emma's tree splits into 3 distinct branches. Tracking shot turns her into an aerial menace, faster fire rates, and precision range play. Hair, and yes, it's called that, expands her blight powers into traversal and trickery, grapples, dodge counters, launchers that toss enemies skyward for acrobatic combos. Entanglement Overdrive is the melee brawler's lane, binds, sweeps, and vicious finishers. The branches converge at the deep end, so you're choosing your journey, not locking your destination. Ku's tree, meanwhile, keeps sprouting new commands and passives, including one where he simply executes weakened enemies on his own, like the good boy he is. And layered over all of it, every Nushi you bring down gets absorbed, its power becoming a new tool in your kit. Here's the design choice I respect most though. Your base abilities never really change. Instead, the game keeps teaching you new ways to use what you already have. New combinations, new applications, new answers each zone quietly demands. You don't outgrow your toolkit, you grow into it. Let me also kill a misconception before you buy this expecting something it isn't. Beast of Reincarnation looks open world in every trailer, and it is not. It's a chain of large open zones, each with a clear spine leading toward that region's Nushi and a limited radius around it, veined with optional routes, ruined buildings, underground bunkers, gear, materials, and secrets. I found an optional boss with a skull over its head, got flattened twice, wandered off, came back stronger, and erased him. And that little loop told me everything about how these zones want to be played. Ku sniffs out hidden caches and barks at secrets, so exploring never feels aimless. And Emma's hair is a full traversal kit, vines that grapple, bridge gaps, and slingshot her into the air. The environment even grows in real time around you, vegetation crawling and blooming as if the world itself is reacting to your presence. It's honestly refreshing. 30 to 40 hours of handcrafted density instead of a bloated map screaming with icons, wrapped in a UI so minimal that the world gets to just breathe. Between the atmosphere, the towering boss silhouettes, and that mournful score, some stretches of this game feel less like a Souls-like and more like a walk through a beautiful funeral. Now the honesty, because this is not a flawless miracle. The story's opening hours are opaque, deliberately mysterious, sure, but I spent real time unsure what was happening. And the premise itself, Cursed Girl, Dying World, walks a well-worn path. The game also barely tutorializes, burying crucial mechanics in an optional codex at campfires, which purists will love and everyone else will curse. The visual splendor is carried by art direction, not raw fidelity. Faces are stiff, some movement animations are awkward, and there are moments where it looks a tier below its ambitions. The camera occasionally loses a wrestling match against the truly massive bosses, especially cornered against arena walls. Enemy variety leaned on the same corrupted beasts and rusted machines, and whether it can stay fresh across 40 hours is an open question. And the stealth-leaning options feel thin next to how good the direct combat is. None of these broke my time with it. All of them are real. And before I hand down the verdict, take one step back with me and appreciate how strange this moment is. For 3 decades, Game Freak has essentially been one thing: the Pokémon machine, shipping the same beloved formula on a conveyor belt to guaranteed billions. The rare side projects were tiny experiments nobody played. This is different. Beast of Reincarnation was born about 6 years ago under the codename Project Bloom, built as their genuine swing at proving they can be more than the creature collecting factory. Their biggest team and biggest budget ever pointed at something with no safety net, no built-in audience, no Charizard to sell it. And the community reaction has been something I didn't expect. People are rooting for them. After years of dunking on Game Freak, there's a real hunger to see this studio step out of Pokemon's shadow and cook. And having played it, I get the optimism. So here's where I land. No scores, just the truth. No single piece of Beast of Reincarnation is the best in its class. Sekiro parries harder, Nier mourns deeper, Final Fantasy commands smarter. But the confluence, the way the parrying feeds the dog, the way the dog feeds the exploration, the way the world's sadness feeds the story of an emotionless girl learning what pity is, adds up to something genuinely its own, in a genre drowning in copies. And the fact that it's Game Freak of all studios pulling this off, the eternal one-trick pony suddenly clearing the bar with room to spare, makes it the feel-good underdog story of the summer. If you love action RPGs, but you're tired of being punished for playing them, this was built for you. If you need technical perfection and a story that explains itself, wait a couple of weeks and watch. Me? August 4th can't come fast enough. The Pokémon studio made a Souls-like about a girl and her dog at the end of the world. And against every instinct I walked in with, it's the real deal. If this one surprised you as much as it surprised me, drop a like, subscribe for more breakdowns like this, and tell me in the comments, are you Team Emma, sword first, or are you building the strongest dog in video game history? I'll catch you in the next one.